What I would like to do is, I will introduce myself. My name is Pramila Jina. I am the founder of the Rise and Radiate program. And I do hold a few titles. I am a CEO. I run a management consultancy on technology and leadership. I also sit on a number of boards in WA, Wait being one of them, Curtin University is another one of them. And I'm also a board director. And everything's fine over there. I'm also an author, and I recently wrote the book, The Leader and Vision, which you'll hear more about in today's session, and I also created the voice framework. But today's not a lot about me, it's about all of you. 5 incredible speakers lined up to speak over here today. So I just want to start with, have you ever felt that you're doing everything, everything, but then they tell you that you're not doing enough? I've found that for women, and especially women of color, it's like we've been given the same script. Grow up, be a good girl, don't take up too much space, and also wait your turn, And what I noticed is, people would say, oh, we've got a fantastic candidate, thank you, please join us. What I've noticed is, and this is what I grew up with, is they say, you're either born a natural leader, or you're not. And I was like, okay. And you're either a good public speaker, or you're not. So it's, it's more nature versus nurture. And that's what I grew up with, culturally and traditionally. I grew up thinking leadership skills, public speaking skills, is you either have it or you don't. And I, unfortunately, didn't have it, believe me. We've got some fantastic more people coming in.
Oh, sorry.
You come in.
Late, I can come in.
No, please come in.
Sorry.
She knows you. Come on in, no, please feel free. It's the rain and the weather, so I'd like to give credit to everybody who's come and braved the rain and the weather, so thank you. So I'll share a little bit. I'll repeat the last time, is I thought either you have public speaking skills or you don't. And believe me, for the people that knew me when I was young, no, not anyone in this room yet, I was totally shy. I was not what you'd think as a public speaker or even a leader. So there I was. They didn't stop me. I did kind of reach out for the mic. And what happened was, instead of encouragement, I got correction. Constantly correcting my words, my pronunciation, my vocabulary. And instead of support, I got mockery. Oh, you sound so funny when you say that. And sometimes I would actually be at the receiving end of real brutal frustration, where they would say, Pramila, just keep quiet. You don't have it. You don't have the talent. And after all that, I learned to kind of start staying in my lane. And I do what most of us do, is I became an excellent doer, I became an excellent executor, and I would deliver. People knew me. They would say, Pramila's the person to go to if you want something done. But I was not given that opportunity to say, she should be the one to lead this program. She should be the voice of our organization. And I'm not one for being shy, so obviously I tried to break the glass ceiling a little bit with my heels. They're much more gentle now. I used to have this high heels. God, pure like heels, killer heels. And I really tried to break the glass ceiling. I fought tooth and nail for that C-suite role. And I didn't get it. They gave it to another man. Same story, once again. And I think on that day, I looked around and I made a personal commitment to myself. And I said, I'm going to learn this public speaking skills. I'm going to really learn this communication skills. I'm not going to let somebody else's judgment decide how loudly I live my life. So I started another journey. I started looking at all the stages where I wanted to speak, and I come from a strong technology background. So I started looking at those stages. And at most conferences, 60 to 70% of the speakers are male. The remaining 30 are women. It's absolute kudos to us. But then I kind of looked more, and I was like trying to find women of color on the stages. Because you know they say this thing, you can't be what you can't see. So I was looking for those women of color on the stages, and they were invisible. I couldn't see them. So I was like sitting there thinking, okay, what is the message being sent over here? If you can't see them, then you can't be them. I can't be them. You can't be them. What is that message? So what I did do is last year, I am a little bit ambitious, a little bit more. I submitted 5 talks to the Women in Leadership WA conference, run in association with UN Women event. Beautiful event. I submitted 5 solid topics, a little provocative, and they came back and they gave me a 15-minute slot. But it was a topic of their choosing, not what I wanted to talk about. And I was really grateful. I took those 15 minutes, I went on stage. Out of 50 speakers, I was the only Indian speaker on the stage. Did feel a little bit out of place. I'm sure the men kind of feel it over here. Yeah, a little bit like that. So I was the only Indian woman on that stage. And then my good friend Tulu from Black Girls Level Up, she came to me and she said, Pramila, did you get paid for that? And I looked at her and I was like, paid? Dude, I am grateful to even have the opportunity to be on that stage. You know, absolutely grateful. And she looked at me, and then I looked at her, and I was like, okay, something's really wrong over here. And I did then say, oh my God, I am grateful to be on a women's conference stage. I am waiting to be chosen. And I do run events for Wait and a number of other boards. And I was like, why am I waiting? I should be creating my own conference. So that's where the idea of this Women of Color conference was born, is where I can create a platform to allow this incredibly fabulous women to come on stage in their full color and outfits. Loving those over here. But with your powerful voices, so that you can share your message with authority and authenticity. And that was powerful. So what we did as women is we actually co-designed this conference. I did not design it alone. We co-designed it. And when we were designing it, we said, what do we want the audience, the incredible audience, to feel today? And what we said is, first thing is, we hope that your stories are reflected on this stage today. We know that you have to see her to be her. Today you'll be seeing these women on stage, and this gives you a message that you too can speak on those stages. And because they've done it, they are proof that you too can do this. So one of the questions I had is, I've obviously forgotten my slides. Quite a few different things happening. Is I said, you know, why is this important now? Please do come in. Please join us. Beautiful colors and radiance. Please join us. I did ask to say, in fact, I was speaking at the IPAA conference, Women in Leadership in Public Sector conference, where I met Susan over there. And one of the ladies on stage said, we already have diversity. And I was like, oh, okay. And I agree. As women, we have made fantastic progress. And absolute kudos to us women. But what has happened is, on that journey, the women of color, we've fallen through the cracks. You know, it's almost like we're all still waiting in the corridors while the other women are being ushered in. And that's what it feels like for us. Going to make it fast with my slides. One of the things I said is, where is there data to prove that this problem exists? And there's this beautiful organization in Sydney, Women of Colour, and they've collected data for the last 3 years. They finally validate what we have been experiencing in our body. And 2/3 of women experience discrimination. Please do come in. Oh, beautiful outfit. I feel like this is the place where everybody with beautiful outfit comes. Please join us. And this is what I realized is 2/3 of women of colour experience discrimination. And when they surveyed these women, 90% of them say that the main cause was racism. I know in Australia we don't like to talk about this word, but that is what the data is telling us. Women of colour, they are underpaid, they are overworked, but you still don't have a seat at the decision-making table. Fantastic, please join us. I know this one doesn't want to join us. We want to go by colour. And this was having an impact on women's psychological well-being and health, right? And we realized it's not just a feeling, it's becoming a pattern. And it's not an isolated story, it's a real systemic issue that we're dealing with over here. So with that, what I did is, the passion I have is, when will women of colour become a priority? When will we start going from the margins to the center? And that's where I wrote my book, The Unwritten Leader. And I also created the Voice Framework. And the Voice Framework is a blueprint to really help these women to go from being silenced to be seen, to be heard, to be valued, and to be respected. This is the blueprint that I want to create for women. And I think I'm going to go good with my slides over here. We're getting there, almost done. And I'm not actually going to explain to you the Voice Framework. It does stand for, this is where I'm going to be tested, visibility, ownership, influence, community, and empowerment. But we won't go into the details of this because I can go on forever. But what you're going to witness is the experience these women have gone through and how they've gone from finding their voice to be seen, heard, valued, and respected. Through their story, you're going to find out that it is possible, there is hope, and they're just 2 steps ahead of you.